relation tales. I usually don't work on Saturdays, but today I was in Lancaster to help a special customer. I work for a company called Python, and we make phones for tough and dangerous places like factories and oil platforms. These phones are strong and explosion-proof. Today, I had finished fixing a small issue at a grain elevator and was filling up my gas tank before heading back to Reading when I got a nice surprise. "Hey, Terry Harrison, what brings you here today?" It was Monica Whitmer, an old family friend. Monica and her husband Brian used to live near Reading, and we had hung out a few times. It had been a while since I'd seen her, so it was nice to catch up. I told her I was just working in Mannheim for half a day and asked how they were doing. We chatted for about 10 minutes, and then I followed her to their house for a family barbecue. Monica was originally from a coal mining area, and Brian's family was from Lancaster, so most of the people there were his relatives. I called my wife, Darcy, to tell her I had bumped into old friends, and she ended up chatting with Monica for about 10 minutes. I felt better letting my wife know I was delayed. It was a non-eventful gathering except for one small thing. I was introduced to Brian's father and two brothers, as well as a half-dozen offspring. Each one of them had the same smile. The canine tooth on the right side of their mouth protruded outward, and when any of the men or children smiled, their lips would curl up around the tooth in a pixie-like grin. My curiosity got the better of me. "Do you need more beef or more ribs?" No, I'm fine. I was just wondering about the unique smile that all the kids have, and also Brian and his brothers. "Oh, you noticed? It's hard not to, especially when you have a whole group of them together. It is a gene thing. Brian, his brothers, and their father all have the funny little tooth in the front. They pass it on to their kids, and their kids will pass it on to their kids. It is sort of cute, don't you think?" I smiled and let her get back to her hosting duties. I had a lot of time to think on the drive back to Reading. Darcy and I had been married for 20 years. I met her in college, and we seemed to click. A few years later, I started work with Python and have been with them for almost 19 years. We have twin 18-year-old sons, Ron and Rob, who are starting at Penn State this fall, and a sweet 14-year-old daughter named Jenny. We were counting on the boys getting student loans and grants to help pay for college, and we hoped Jenny would do the same when her time came. Darcy and I had a good life. We lived in a nice house, had 2 cars, and were financially comfortable. In 2 years, I would be fully vested in the company's pension plan, and we had a solid retirement account. Over the years, the company asked me to move to different places, but Darcy was always against it. Aside from that, we got along fine. Our intimate life was good, though not thrilling, and there didn't seem to be any problems in our marriage until now. Darcy had prepared a light supper, knowing I wouldn't be too hungry after the barbecue. She asked about everyone and mentioned she was sorry she couldn't join. Jenny sat quietly at the table, eating her dinner. The boys were off somewhere doing whatever it was that boys their age did. Everything was okay until Jenny looked up and smiled. Her right lip curled over her protruding tooth, and she looked like a little pixie. I lost my appetite completely and excused myself from the table. There was no doubt in my mind that Jenny was Brian's daughter. It was about the time that Darcy got pregnant with Jenny that our intimate life and our relationship in general started to cool down. Darcy never denied me intimacy, but the spark and the passion were missing. I assumed it was a natural thing and didn't dwell on it too much. I had gotten used to the mediocre lovemaking and expected it would stay that way for the rest of our lives. I wanted more and would have enjoyed more, but did not want to become a nag about it. Now it all became clear on a different level. From her frequent trips to Lancaster over the past 15 years, I could only conclude that the affair was ongoing. I do not have a confrontational nature. I felt I would have to mention it to Darcy, and I was hoping I could do it in a civilized manner. Hundreds of other questions started to form in my mind, and by bedtime, I was a complete wreck. I told Darcy I wasn't feeling well from all the greasy food and slept on the sofa that night. I spent the whole next day in the garage working on unnecessary projects that I had let go for too long. I was trying to kill time and think. The possibilities were endless. I had to take some action, and it had to result in some sort of satisfaction. I'm not the type to seek revenge, but I didn't want to do anything that might help Darcy and her lover. My first priority was taking care of the boys. Even though Jenny wasn't my biological daughter, I still loved her and didn't want to hurt her. I didn't want to hurt Darcy either, but I also didn't want to end up supporting her and Brian for the rest of my life. I knew for sure I didn't want to spend more time with Darcy than necessary. How she reacted during our confrontation would likely decide what I'd do in the next few days. I chose to talk to her after Sunday's supper. Darcy was a good cook, and dinner that night was delicious as usual. Ron and Rob left before dessert to meet some friends, and Ginny finished her dessert and went to the living room. That left just Darcy and me sitting with our coffee. Something has been on your mind all day. Terry, want to tell me what it is? I guess I was being a little obvious with my brooding. I was just wondering how long we were going to wait before we told Ginny who her real father was. I didn't know how else to bring it up. There was a long pause at the other end of the table, followed by a deep sigh. It is amazing how long it took you to figure it out. She remained stoic as her eyes went from the middle of the table up to mine. I don't think she has to know until she is at least 18 or she has some sort of medical problem where it becomes necessary. Everything is fine, just as it is. We can't accomplish anything by telling her now. Is that fair? I asked. Fair to who? A stable family life is important to a girl her age. She doesn't need to know. I'll tell her when the time comes. For now, just keep your mouth shut. I was amazed. I had just told my wife that I knew about her cheating, but instead of apologizing, she took control of the conversation and started making demands. I expected her to feel guilty and sorry for what she did, but that wasn't happening. She acted like she had done nothing wrong and thought everything would just keep going as usual, whether I liked it or not. My first instinct was to argue with her, but then I noticed some movement in the hallway near the dining room. Ginny had been listening to our conversation. As I paused, I heard her quietly walking away. I decided to stay calm instead and asked if we should consider a divorce. I then mentioned it was important to keep things stable for the family for a few more years. A divorce is out of the question. What would Ginny and I do if we separated? I think it would be better to wait a while until she is older and everything is stable financially. Things suddenly became clearer. In 2 years, I would have vested rights in the company retirement fund. In addition to part of my salary, Darcy would also be entitled to part of my retirement plan when she turned 65. The cheating woman was planning ahead, way ahead. I had a lot of thinking to do now. I sat still, saying nothing. At least we don't have to endure the pity intimacy anymore. That's a relief. What are you talking about? I asked. For the past 15 years, I've been intimate with you, whenever you wanted, just so you wouldn't get suspicious, she said. It went on longer than I thought because you were so slow to figure it out. But at least now it's all out in the open, and we don't have to pretend anymore. I'll probably be taking more trips to Lancaster from now on, too. I sat there for a few more minutes, neither of us saying anything. Then I said, I'll move my stuff into the guest room while you and Jenny do the dishes. I don't want to be a burden any more than I have to. You're acting like a spoiled brat, Terry, she replied. We can share the same bedroom without being intimate. It's better for the kids. I didn't respond. The guest room had a sofa bed that was really uncomfortable, but at least I didn't have to sleep with her anymore. The next morning, I was up and out of the house before anyone else even woke up. I didn't want to have to answer any questions about the sleeping arrangements with the kids. After grabbing a quick dinner breakfast, I headed for work. I was lying awake most of the night making plans. It would be a busy day. My bosses at Pydone were more than happy to talk to me. I spent the entire morning adjusting and readjusting arrangements before cleaning out my desk and leaving for lunch. As I was finishing off a large steak sandwich, I realized that I was smiling to myself like an idiot. Things were off to a good start. I spent the rest of the afternoon at the bank, my insurance agent's office, and job hunting. I got home at about 3, which was unusual for me. What the hell are you doing home so early? I quit my job. What? You love that job. Why in the world would you quit? She paused for a second, waiting for a reply that didn't come. Are you still upset about last night? No, I just decided I was working too hard and wanted to change. I got a new job at DS Brown starting tomorrow. The feed mill? What on earth are you planning to do working at a feed mill? She asked. Just loading trucks and freight cars, no stress or big responsibilities. I'm also hoping to lose some weight, I replied. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. How are we going to pay for the boys' college? That job probably pays minimum wage. I don't get what's going on with you. What happened to your pension? It's gone. I needed 20 years to secure it, and I didn't make it. Did you get severance pay? How about your vacation pay and sick leave? No, no, and no. In order to get accrued sick leave or vacation pay, you have to give 60 days notice. You only get severance pay when they lay you off. I didn't give notice, just quit and walked out. What about the boys' college? She asked. No problem. The bank will give us a second mortgage and we can get enough to prepay 4 years for both of them. They can still apply for grants or loans if they need to, I said. And how are we going to make 2 house payments? She asked. I figure with the boys gone, the house will be too big for us anyway, so we'll probably end up selling it. You've lost your mind, Darcy said, shaking her head in disbelief and walking away. I felt a strong sense of pride and accomplishment. My plan was in motion. For the next 2 months, things got worse between Darcy and me. My relationship with Jenny, however, improved. Jenny had become a perfect little daughter, even though she wasn't mine. I wasn't really sure how much she overheard the conversation Darcy and I had. The second mortgage on the house went through with no problem, mainly because I had it all prearranged. Every dollar went straight to Penn State to prepay tuition for Ron and Rob. We could no longer afford the mortgage payments, so the house went on the market. I quietly sold off my gun and coin collection and stashed the I traded in my BMW for a used Ford pickup, so I would have no payments. Darcy and Jenny kept their cell phones, but I got rid of mine and told the boys to get their own if they wanted them. I was barely making enough to pay the utilities and buy food. We had to let the house payments slide until it sold. The bank understood. After the house sold, we still cleared about $30,000. I took the entire check and bought Darcy a new Lincoln sedan. I had checked the blue book carefully, and that car had the highest appreciation rate possible. In 5 years, it would be worth next to nothing. I hope she enjoyed it. We rented a small house in a modest section of town. Darcy was making a lot more trips down to Lancaster. We never talked about it. I was trying to save a little from my salary, but it wasn't much. Darcy didn't know, but I had canceled or cashed in all the life insurance policies. That money went into my secret account. Jenny and I grew very close. She was distancing herself from Darcy and getting more attached to me. I didn't mind, but it seemed to annoy Darcy. The boys were doing well in college. When Jenny's 16th birthday was coming up, I asked if there was anything special she wanted. She whispered her wish in my ear and asked me not to tell Mom. Darcy was furious when she saw that Jenny had her right canine tooth pulled. Because of the way it was growing, the dentist was able to remove it without leaving a space where it should have been. There was a small sore spot on her gum where the tooth came out, but he said it would disappear with no scar. Jenny was thrilled. Darcy didn't talk to me for a week. I thought it was a great present. I lost almost 30 pounds at my feed mill job. If the light was just right, it looked like I actually had abs. I think I was fooling myself, but it felt good to dream. The first few weeks I was sore. But as time went on, it felt good to get some exercise. Jenny was in her last year of high school, and we had become best friends. It was her choice, not mine, but I was flattered. Then, all of a sudden, Darcy went from being moody to super happy. She was cheerful and acting like a little kid. After a few days of this, I asked Jenny, "What's going on with your mom?" "I'd rather not talk about it." "She's being gross," Jenny replied. "What do you mean?" I asked. She found out 3 days ago that Monica Whitmer has cervical cancer, and the doctors say she has less than 3 months to live. Ever since Mom found out, she's been all excited. It's awful that she's enjoying someone else's pain. Monica never did anything to her, and Mom's acting like a real jerk. "It's not nice to call your mom that," I said. "I don't know what else to call her right now." Sadly, I had to agree with Jenny. Now that I knew the reason behind Darcy's happiness, I felt the same way she did. It was a struggle to put up with her and keep my mouth shut at the same time. I worked a lot of overtime and spent much time away from the house. Sometimes Jenny would go with me, and we would just wander around the mall for hours. We didn't want to go home. 3 weeks later, I was served with divorce papers. Since Jenny was going to be 18 before it was final, child custody was not an issue. We no longer owned a home and had no money in the bank. Darcy did not ask for alimony or support. It was just a straightforward incompatibility divorce. I signed the papers as they were and quit my job at the feed mill. I stopped by the Pidone offices and then made a quick detour by the bank before going home. Darcy was not at home. Jenny said she went to Lancaster to console Monica for a few days. We both snickered a little at that, I gave Jenny an envelope with $10,000 in it. I apologized that it wasn't more, but promised to send some at a later date. I explained that I had to leave and that she would be fine with her mother. She was not happy, but helped me pack the truck anyway. Darcy could take care of whatever had to be done about the house after I was gone. I didn't know what Jenny's plans were after high school. She offered to tell the twins about the separation, but she said she couldn't do it without being biased. 6 weeks after I moved out, Monica Whitmer passed away. My friend Tom Kalita lived in a double-wide trailer near the Ocala National Forest, close to Silver Springs, Florida. Technically, he lived in Moss Bluff, but no one knows where that is. He retired from the Air Force, and he and his wife, Wanda, spent most of their time fishing and going to yard sales. Tom had been asking me for years to come visit, and it was great to finally have a place to go. I always loved watching those fishing shows on TV where they caught huge fish with silly lures. Tom spent the next few weeks showing me it was all real. He taught me how to scoot a jiggerbug over the top of the lily pads. It was exhilarating to see the large mouths swoop out of the water after the annoying intruders. It was fun for the first few months, but then it started to get old. I had heard nothing from home, mainly because no one knew where I was. I was counting the days till the divorce would be final. Tom and Wanda were fully aware of what was going on and were very supportive. The day after the divorce was to be final, Tom and Wanda were going to drive me to the international airport in Orlando. I wasn't taking much, so packing was no problem. I left Tom the Ford pickup as a thank you for putting up with me. That was when things took a strange turn. Just as we were about to leave the driveway, a black SUV pulled in behind us. Tom had no idea who they were. Clyde Green introduced himself and his friend, Dave Fielding, as FBI agents. "We're looking for Terry Harrison. Can you help us?" Agent Green asked. I didn't say anything, just raised my hand slightly. "Mr. Harrison, we need a few minutes of your time. Can you help us?" "Of course, no problem," I replied. Tom and Wanda gave a small smile to the agents and went inside the trailer. We all sat down at the picnic table on the front patio. Clyde put a small recorder and notebook on the table. "Tell us about your trip to Lisbon, Mr. Harrison." "It's no big deal. I'm starting a new job there." "Why now?" "I guess you know my divorce was final yesterday. I was delaying the new job until after the separation was final." "Is there a problem with that?" "No, not at all, just trying to verify a few things." "Let's cut the crap. Why the hell are you here, and what the hell do you want?" "I have a plane to catch and don't feel like playing cat and mouse." "Get to the damn point." Green and Fielding looked at each other and shrugged. Green closed his notebook. "Brian Whitmer was killed yesterday afternoon by a car bomb. Because of your divorce, we thought it was important to talk to you," Agent Green said. "Wow, great timing," I replied. "As you probably know, I've been here for the last 3 months, and Tom can confirm that. I don't know anything about explosives, and honestly, I had no reason to want Brian dead. He was doing me a favor. I wanted to be rid of my cheating wife and was looking forward to it being over. I don't resent his affair with her at all. Sure, I'm a bit annoyed that I spent 16 years raising his child, but I wouldn't go so far as to kill him. The timing, though, is definitely interesting. We know who planted the explosives, and we know it wasn't you. What we need to know is if you paid to have it done, and if you know the person who did it. Tell me who you think did it, and I'll tell you if I know him. Do you know a man named Tony Donato from Westchester?" "Don't know anyone by that name. In fact, I don't know anyone at all from Westchester." "Did you guys check the phone logs and stuff? How do you know it was him?" "We couldn't find any records of phone calls to Mr. Donato from anywhere in Florida for the last month. The technique used to set the bomb was very crude but effective. Mr. Donato has used the same setup several times before, but we have never been able to nail him." "What exactly are you trying to find out from me?" "I don't know anything about the bombing. I don't know Mr. Donato, and I couldn't care less if Brian Whitmer was alive or dead. Brian Whitmer was the reason my wife left me, and I thank him for that. No grudges on my part, honest. We just didn't want to leave any stones unturned. I'm sure you understand. Will you be available if we need to talk to you again?" "Of course. I'll reach out once I get settled in." For hours later, I was on my way to Lisbon. The flight gave me plenty of time to think about the last few years. My relationship with Darcy had been getting worse for a long time. I was too blind to see she was having an affair. To make it worse, I had raised her child as my own. I really loved Jenny and grew closer to her after I found out she wasn't actually mine. Once I realized that Darcy was planning on getting some monetary benefit from my job and my retirement, I decided to take steps to stop it. If I agreed to take over the new European operation, the timing was perfect for the company and me. I had not counted on Brian's wife dying, but Jenny was getting close to finishing school anyhow. My new post as VP of Continental Operations came with a substantial pay increase, a great benefits package, and a reinstatement of my old retirement plan. I had a small nest egg secretly stashed away, and all my affairs were in order. I felt bad about not doing more for Jenny, but I could make up for that later. Ron and Rob were finishing up at Penn State, and things were looking good for them. I was 3 months behind on the status of Darcy or Jenny, but was hoping to catch up after I got settled. The interview with the feds went faster and easier than I thought it would. I got to thinking that this was unusual, but didn't dwell on it too much. I more or less put in the back of my mind with a silent sign of relief. It did get me wondering what had happened, though. Getting settled in my new home was a lot easier than I thought it would be. I had underlings now, and they had pretty much taken care of things before my arrival. The house, or should I say, the villa they picked out for me, was spectacular. It was on a hillside with a beautiful view of the harbor. I was enrolled in language lessons twice a week and had plenty of time for private tutoring. As they say, life was good. For some reason or another, I had not contacted Jenny or Darcy. In fact, only the company and the twins knew where I was. Ron was in grad school at Texas A&M, and Rob was now a second lieutenant in the Army, thanks to ROTC. They said Darcy was at the graduation, but no one talked about the separation or divorce. They agreed not to tell her where I was. They didn't know where she was living or what she was doing, and didn't ask. Jenny had filled them in on everything that led to the divorce, and it seemed she hadn't held back. They seemed a bit bitter toward their mother. I was proud of all 3 of my kids. A year had passed, and things were going well. Then, in early April, I got an invitation to Jenny's wedding. Unfortunately, it got to me about 2 weeks after the date of the ceremony. A small note inside expressed her desire for me to give her away if I got the invitation in time. I felt bad about not being there for her. It took about 2 hours for my assistant to get a current address and phone number for Frank and Jenny Connie in King of Prussia. "Hi, Jenny, it's Dad. Dad, you got my invitation. I missed you so much. Hey, slow down, slow down. Everything is fine. I'm just sorry that I didn't find out about the wedding till it was too late. I'm really upset that I missed it. It was wonderful, and other than you not being there, everything went perfectly. I really wanted you to walk down the aisle with me. Frank is a great guy, Dad. You will like him. He is just finishing up an electrical engineering degree from Drexel, and hopefully he'll be starting a new job in a couple months." Jenny was talking a mile a minute. She seemed as excited about talking to me as she did about the wedding. I was happy for her. "I didn't get you anything. What do you need or want? I need to see you and have you meet Frank. Can you come home? Not right now, but why don't you and Frank come visit me? I have a nice place with plenty of room. I can arrange tickets if you can figure out the schedule." "Okay, that sounds great. Can I call you back tomorrow?" "Sure, just give me a number. I love you, Daddy, and I miss you. I can't wait to see you. I will make this work. Don't worry." Jenny's new husband was everything a father could wish for. He was good-looking, apparently, hard-working, and ambitious. I liked him and felt that he would take good care of my daughter. Even though I knew Jenny was not mine, I loved her as my own. Jenny was more than willing to update me on her mother. Darcy found herself estranged from Brian's family after his death. They seemed to think that somehow she was responsible for what happened to Brian. There was also some talk about her affair with Brian behind Monica's back that made her an unwelcomed family guest. Without Brian, Darcy had no way to support herself. She was now working at Zinn's Diner by the turnpike and living in a mobile home near while Jenny was dressing, so we could go out for supper. I had some one-on-one time with Frank. "Any particular plans after college, Frank?" "Mainly a job. Jenny has agreed to relocate to wherever we have to go, so that makes it a lot easier. I'd rather find a job I like than be stuck in one I don't like at a particular location. I think I can relate to that." For 10 minutes we talked about what he studied at Drexel and what type work he was looking for. Surprisingly, he spoke pretty good Italian. He learned it from his grandparents, who lived with him while he was growing up in Philly. We were planning to open a service office in Parma, and the only hold-up was finding someone to run it who spoke the language. In this case, education and the ability to manage were more important than experience. I was trying to figure out how to make it work while listening to Frank talk. It would be great to have Jenny close enough to see her sometimes. Being a boss felt good. Around that time, my beautiful Jenny joined us. We chatted casually as we walked to the car. Jenny, since I couldn't make it to the wedding, who gave you away? Frank's Uncle Anthony introduced us, and he was really happy to do it. He also gave us a very nice wedding present. Frank kind of laughed about it. I never expected to get a $10,000 wedding gift from anyone, and getting it from Uncle Anthony was a big surprise. It's not like he has a regular job or anything. I'm not sure where he gets his money, but I really appreciated it. I need to remember to send Uncle Anthony Connie a nice thank you letter myself. Oh no, he's an uncle on my mother's side. His last name is Donato. I glanced at Jenny, and she had a small grin on her face, like a little pixie, but without the tooth curl. Second story. It's a bit embarrassing to share this story. I met a girl, and we were flirting, but she told me she had a boyfriend, so I stepped back. Later, at a party, she was very clear that she was interested in me and unhappy in her relationship. We both got drunk and ended up hooking up. She said she would end things with her boyfriend to be with me, but she couldn't go through with it. I told her we couldn't pursue anything further. We kept talking, and she eventually said she was ready to break up with her boyfriend. She referred to him as her ex, so I thought it was really over. We went on dates, got close, and eventually had sex. After a few months, she said she wanted to be exclusive. However, I struggled to trust her since she had cheated on her boyfriend with me at the start. I valued our connection, but then she confessed that she never actually broke up with him and couldn't choose between us. She was lying to both of us and being really selfish. It's shocking to realize I was deceived for so long. I can't understand how someone can act this way. Now she says she feels terrible about her choices, but I'm skeptical. Wouldn't she have felt bad during the 2 months she was living this double life and lying to everyone? Even her family? It just doesn't make sense to me. Does it make sense to any of you?